Hello there, this is Big Benedict. We're playing Ghost Recon Future Soldier on hardcore difficulty, and this is the Raven Strike DLC. I love the opening of this chapter. Whenever I see it, I'm reminded of The Mirror by Andrei Tarkovsky, who directed Solaris. And in the opening of The Mirror, it's in a field just like this, with a woman sitting on the fence smoking, watching as a man walks up towards her via the field. He took a wrong turn, but he approaches her and they talk, and she's a little nervous, but he sits on the fence with her after asking her for a cigarette, and the weight of him causes the fence to fall down, and he says it's nice to fall in love with a woman for once, and he just laughs out of pure happiness. And if you've never seen it, it's a great movie. If you've never seen a Tarkovsky movie, you don't want to start there, though. You want to start with Solaris, because it's a good science fiction movie that it's a little bit more relatable than The Mirror, which is more obscure, but it's just so serene of an opening to a movie. Like most movies these days, they don't even capture 1/10 of the emotion of just one scene out of these movies by these great directors. But anyway, you saw the two guys I took out at the beginning. You saw the guy on the tower I took out, and then you saw the guy on the balcony that I took out. So we have a very high-powered sniper rifle, and I'm using the underbarrel here. You press up on the D-pad, and I just love laying here. It feels like I'm out in the. It really feels like I'm out in the field. It's just the colors in the countryside. But 4 targets over here. You saw the guys to the left. We saw this guy. He's going to give me a bit of a hard time. And then we're going to see target, I think it's target 1, walking towards him. Make sure that he's at the right about where number 4 is as they cross paths. Then take out everybody. You want their 2 bodies to fall on the other side of the barn. And then it's another simple procedure of taking out 4 enemies. But make sure you take the guy out on the balcony, or he'll see these kills. And then, surprisingly, there's only 2 enemies in the barn. So after that synchronized kill, we're gonna go down, and it's a real shame. Maybe I'm just not looking hard enough on YouTube. Sometimes I'm very guilty of that. I'll admit it. I don't look, I don't sift through 15, 20, 25 pages. I get impatient, and maybe there is a guide for. If anyone knows, let me know, because I call myself a pioneer in the last video. Watch out, this guy's sitting down. There's another guy up on the rafters. I called myself a pioneer in the video. If that's true, I literally am a pioneer for doing this first, because that's what pioneers do. They pioneer things, if you want to use it in a verb form. But it's a shame that there's not other guide. Not because I can't look at it for help. I'm just saying, why doesn't anybody have the passion or the commitment to do a guide on hardcore for the DLC? It's just because there's other games out there, you can still go back and play these greats, just like you can watch the great movies too. I would never understand it. Okay, this section here, I have no trouble, and you shouldn't either, with the strategies I will tell you how to clear these guys. It's just, this is a very sensitive encounter here. So in the cornfields here, we have some patrolling riflemen. So use the drone. The drone's very helpful here. Take care of the majority of these enemies here. And did you see the motion where he recalled the drone? That's vulnerability on your behalf. So, like, if you follow my strategy, unfortunately, you're going to have to crawl to victory, and it's pretty sad. But the thing about this section is it's very easy to kill everybody. It's not easy to get to the goal. But with enough perseverance, this took me 1 hour and 50 minutes. That's how long the source file was. I got obsessed with it, and I paused one time to do something, but okay, we took out the guy to the left. Now what we want, what did I do there? Okay, I did a synchronized kill because the chopper was not there. The choppers, when you get up to about this point, one will land and drop off 4 enemies. There are 3 enemies to the left, and one time I did this, I got all the way like 30 meters away, and something started shooting at me, and I thought it was an enemy that I had missed, but it wasn't. Because on this run, this successful run, I get to the end, and I use the drone, I use sensors, and there's nobody. So what it was a chopper just seeing me. So I think there are 3 choppers, or at least 2 that alternate, and they spawn from the left, and they go from the very back of the screen towards the screen. And at this point here, you want to target one of the enemies that you can actually hit, possibly from the ground, and it kind of didn't work for me. So these are the only 4 guys left. Like, obviously you don't want to be doing synchronized kills when a chopper is over the enemies in the general area that you want to take them out in. Any motion, like that motion right there, any motion of you, any motion, even using the right analog stick to move the camera, because it moves the aimer too. So it's actually a good test. It's a little less sensitive, I found. So if you want to test if any cameras or any of the helos are flying over, instead of actually moving with the left analog stick, use the right analog stick and just very casually move it up. So at this point, these guys are too far away from us to hit. They will never see any of the other bodies, these guys here. Goal number 1 is to kill these guys. Goal number 2 is just to get to the end. And anything that you're doing, snapping into cover, snapping out of cover, any movement, because on hardcore difficulty, you only have the ghost ability when you're completely not moving. So these helicopters, they set off. It's like even exiting from the ghost mode, one move, these helicopters will see you. I can't tell you how sensitive this is, but my logic here was, if I'm crawling on the ground and not moving and just waiting for the choppers to fly by, even though I might get the warning light occasionally with the halo, they can never see me as long as I'm not moving, and it is true. But you have to realize that sometimes the chopper is closer, like behind you, like when it's flying towards the screen. Just make sure that you give it enough time. See, here's a couple of choppers. They're white, and then they kind of buffer their colors a little bit when they get closer to you. I think it has to do with the draw distance, but you're going to be getting very intimate with the grass and the dirt and the weeds here. So unfortunately, I don't know of any other strategy. I mean, you could use the cover to go to snap from cover to cover, and you probably could get away with it, but I was getting detected here so much that I just said, I'm just going to crawl to victory. I don't care. As long as I get to victory, and what does it matter? But at this point, until you get the box that says rifle over this number 4 guy, and by the way, he's a bad target because I can't hit him. I can't hit him from the ground, so I have to get up, and that will cause me to be exposed. So what I should have done was just unmark all the targets. What else gets you spotted here? Any movement? Yeah, and unfortunately, we can't. Like, if I was even thinking of going in reverse to the exit so that I could always see how far away the helos were away from me. It might work. I don't know. So at this point, I took off number 4 so that I could reacquire the target over here. And this area over here where you might see an edit was because I had to consult my gut. I had to see where I needed to go. It says infiltrate. You see that thing in the sky? But you actually need to go into the little canal over to the right past the truck. And trust me, as long as you, it doesn't matter if they, even if they fly directly over you or directly near you, as long as you are completely standing or laying here without moving. See how close these get? It almost said warning right there. But they can't see you, so take comfort in that. I could do this again. It just requires a lot of patience. See, even getting up, getting down, and the guy's behind a rock. Oh no, he's over here. So you need to do this kill when the helicopters are like behind us. So do the synchronized kill, get everybody killed, and then that's all the enemies. I had no trouble here, like having people see each other on the ground. The helicopters cannot see dead bodies unless like you do a synchronized kill and they're hovering over them. That's about it, and it's pretty sad. But I thought to myself, this has to be able to work, doesn't it? And that's what I was thinking the entire time, and I was thinking to myself, well, surely, I'm sure people have beaten this difficulty. It's just no one's done a guide for it on YouTube that I have seen. So, and you can't really rely on the sounds of the helicopters either, because it can be misleading. You might hear them and think that they're further away, but they could be closer than you think. So the drone usage here was to verify that nobody was lurking over here, because like I mentioned before, I did get mowed down over here by something, but it wasn't a foe, because all the targets that I've shown you where they are, that's all the targets. There's nobody else. And you could get gutsy and run, but who knows if you'll make it, because you instantly get the fail state. So I'm sorry this has to be this way, but I just wanted to make this look authentic, because this is what you have to deal with sometimes in games. And I'm even throwing sensors out here just to make sure that nobody was over here. But here you could also take some solace in this if you're doing this. I got to this point only one other time and failed. Like all the other attempts, they were further back. So as long as you're patient, and as long as you can just sit here or lay here and just wait for them to go past you, they cannot see you, because technically you're supposed to be invisible. Now if this were elite difficulty, we could freely move if we wanted to, but the developers for this difficulty have rendered movement to preclude the ghost mode. So you see where it says 45 meters? We need to actually go to the right.
Deploying sensor.
We need to go to the right, so I would recommend going to the right of that truck. There's nobody inside of it. You don't have to worry about that. Here I'm just scanning, clicking in the right bumper to make sure I can't see any targets that maybe I missed on my other guide. Okay. So don't be too keen on moving the camera, because like I said, the camera moves the character too. Other things too, if you have targets marked and you're crawling and you've targeted one for yourself, he will very slightly be mobile, like even if you're on the ground, if you're tracking the enemy, if you're hovering over where they are. So you should be aware of that as well. It usually doesn't result in a failure. I honestly wish you could somehow move the camera without moving the character, and this would be a lot easier because you're pretty close to the character here. And what I'm mostly doing when I suspect that I can move is I'm not using the left analog stick. I'm using the right analog stick. I'm just very gently moving it to see if I get any kind of halo, and if I don't, I move. And I would say resist the temptation to snap into cover, because the second you do, you're vulnerable.
Camo activated.
So I would say that this is hard. I would just say that it's hard and it's overly sensitive, but at least it didn't take me 5 hours like the previous chapter did for that final fight. So it's probably the hardest stealth section. So we can move a little bit more freely now that we're behind the truck, but just don't take anything for granted would be my best advice. And then it says regroup, so I said I'll make a break for it because I just had watched my own guide and he dropped down here, but they still don't give you a checkpoint. And if I were you, until you see that floppy disk icon, just stay in this state here. What's happening is the teammates are waiting, or we're waiting for the teammates to catch up, and it'll say regroup. But I don't know if you get seen over here, you fail. Possibly it's just a regrouping sequence, but that is really, it's just too sensitive of a section. Alright, we're coming back to this a day later now. We're in the trench down here, the canal, and you'll have to bear with me a little bit here because I had some render lag over here because I was trying to render the previous video for this guide. So did you see how that guy was facing me when I jumped up here? It looked like he was facing me, and then when I did the stealth kill, since the animation is supposed to have the enemy with his back to you when you slit his throat or choke him out, whatever it randomly does, he switched. So you can take these two guys out, and then there will be two more below. So you can kind of do what you need to here. It's easier to take these two guys out and then take the two guys out on the bottom. So we've got some drawn out gunfights, and I've got to say the next chapter presented me with a lot of problems too. When you do the breach midway through the level, when you're trying to get the second high value target, really tough. So I would say that, you know, with the exception of that final sequence in the main campaign, this DLC is much harder than the main campaign. And even so, I honestly don't think that final stretch, you get 2 checkpoints on the main sections, and you get a final checkpoint before the on-rails section. And I don't know what I was complaining about, quite honestly. And this difficulty is designed for PC gamers, most likely those who are using a mouse and a keyboard, because they're much more precise and they even have sensitivity settings. So I am coming at this game with a little bit of a handicap, and I'm not trying to say that I deserve any kind of special services or, you know, considerations. I'm just putting it out there. But whenever I see a hard difficulty, I like to tackle it. And I'm sorry about the previous video. It was a really long... Oh, this section here, you know what? I tried to do a number of things here. It seemed like whoever I tried to synchronize kill, it seemed like I could not get anything done with synchronized kills here. So what I decided to do was do a synchronized kill, and then in the little recovery time, when you have the advanced... you have a little advantage over the enemies because you're in real time and they're in slow motion, or some kind of a fusion between those two realities. You can throw a frag in the middle of these guys and take care of them. And what I wanted to apologize for was how boring the commentary was for the first video. I know some of my videos are hit and miss, But it really was a boring topic, and I'm sorry about that if you weren't. You know, it's hard with games like these when there's a lot of downtime and there's just a lot of gunfights, and I play back all of my videos once they're uploaded to YouTube to make sure that the final product that I've uploaded has no issues. Now, you might think to yourself, well, why don't you just play back the video that you render before you upload it? I just take a chance because I just do. That's how I work. I assume that what I've done has no errors, and they usually don't because I'm so technical, and it's all such a streamlined process now that it's a step-by-step thing. But sometimes you can make errors. So yeah, I got bored listening to it. So you get a checkpoint right here. So I'm not going to try to pull a bunch of jokes and things out of my hat. Watch out for these guys. Throw a frag. So helpful here. You're going to see this view here, the magnetic mode, quite a lot, because without it, you really can't see anything. So I would say that this DLC package, like the first section, Secure Dawn, it does have that hard section at the end that I was lamentating over, and then the second mission, this one here, it has that very hard stealth section. Like for the first 15 or 20 minutes of this chapter, if you make an alert, you get the fail status. So it's really strict about that. And then on the next section, it has an ambiguous, I hate that. And then I got hit. I wasn't so close to the blast, but the next section, I just cleared the main, like the big gunfight in the middle of the chapter, and I did it with really poor weapons, and kind of like on these gunfights, they're hard because this game wasn't designed to be like Gears of War, but it's the same kind of thing where if you're out of cover for too long, like in Uncharted and Gears of War, even like Spec Ops and what was that other one that I played? You know, any type of cover-based third-person shooter. You can't stay out of cover for very long, and you have to be comfortable realizing that, or you can't succeed. You just can't. It's stop and pop, spray and pray. All those rhyming words that we're learning with the course of this guide, right? We're learning shapes and we're learning rhymes. And I've got to say, I got a great comment from Timmy Gunn. I referenced him in, I think it was video 9 of the guide. And this guy, there's some people that have just have a really good way with words, and I do too. But like, I wish it could carry over into an eloquent kind of speaking, but some people, you know, they can't have you know, I'm very good with words. I'm a grammatical freak, and I love words. I love learning about words. But some people, they just say things that you just start, you know, like you sense that they identify with you. This guy called me a fucking trailblazer, and I could not stop laughing for like a whole hour. You know, not non-stop, but just... Where's that guy's comment? Because it's such a good-natured comment. In a... So I'll pull it up here. Bick Benedict, one of the great trailblazers of our time. Like, who says that? Not many people. This guy is really unique with his words. Good job on the mission, man. It did look tough. I'm definitely seeing the appeal of this game now. Ghosting around, managing your squad, being as clinical as possible. I thought that was a great term, too. Being as clinical as possible. That probably speaks to my own nature and how I love games, how I like to analyze them, pick them apart, and find strategies. And then he went on to... I'll just read... it was interesting to hear about your Patreon account. I wish you all the best with that, and I agree early access to content is a good reward for your supporters. What about also some kind of regular video update? Maybe fortnightly? Fortnightly! I think that means occurring twice a week or every 2 weeks. I think that's what it means, every 2 weeks. This guy is just awesome with his words. Maybe a fortnightly or monthly update, channel update, or a Q&A element. That would be really cool too. And again, the patrons would have access to this ahead of your regular subscribers. Just some ideas. Like, you come across so many good people on the internet occasionally. There's a lot of people that you wouldn't really want to have any dealings with in real life. But this guy was a guy when I was doing my Vanquish guide, when I really needed help. And hell, I still do, since I can't really say that I can beat it. I can't. I might be able to at some point down in my life, but I just don't want to play it. Maybe a few years later, I can't do it anymore. But this guy, he gave me all the statistics of all the like all the damage values for all the weapons, so I knew exactly what was the best things to take on those final bosses, and how the DLC weapons were, I hate to say nerfed, but that's what it was. I just don't like that. It sounds like a stupid word, but how they were nerfed a little bit, and their damage outputs were reduced in half. So, and then he also said, "Do you want the book? I'll send it to you." That's a great offering, a humble offering, something I would do probably. You know, I had when I had my Ninja Gaiden 2. Guide 3 going, and then I deleted it. You might remember I said, you know, that I was going to have, you know, I would just select a comment from somebody who would, you know, leave regular comments on all the videos, and then I'll choose one and send out the disc-based version of Ninja Gaiden 2, which I had sealed, had all the DLC too on a card, completely unsealed, or sealed, excuse me. And I had the guidebook too with all my notations, and I sent that prize out because I'm a man of my word. It was somebody up in Canada, and they took the time to invest in the channel and the guide and write the comments. And even though I deleted the guide, I chose this guy's comments because I felt they were the most genuine. And this is a different individual, but that's what I do. I am a man of my word. Sometimes I have to take things back, but when I promise something to somebody, I try to make sure that somebody gets what I'm promising them. And that goes along right with the Patreon, you know. I will send those URLs to you if you want them, and I realize some people could do without them, you know. They'll just do a donation and say, it's nice that you're offering a reward, but I just don't want it, and that's great too. But just don't feel obligated to send me money via PayPal. It is really easy to joke about and just say, yeah, send me all your money, I'll be really happy, and you know, I'll really like you. But the thing is, take care of yourself first, and then worry about the channel. And, you know, if you have any extra, that's just kind of funny to get this guy shot with, to completely go prostrate and then shoot him in the feet and the ankles. But yeah, if you have money and you want to donate, feel free to do so. And I also want to talk about, I'm feeling long-winded tonight, even though I have a headache. I also wanted to mention why, even though I said video 1, the previous video, Secure Dawn, video 1 of 3, even though I said it was boring, I mean, I admitted it was boring, and it was even boring me listening back to it. I want to talk about why that's acceptable to me, and why I have no issues with it being that way. But this place here, you have to clear out everybody, right? And you don't get a checkpoint for a very long time. So what it wants you to do is just to shoot these enemies up on that on the upper catwalks here, and when you take out most of them, what you then want to do is go underground and kill. There's like 3 stragglers down there that will run to you every single time, and when they're charging at you, they're not shooting, so it's very easy to take them out. So revive all your teammates as needed, and then reconvene upstairs once you've gone downstairs. Do you see where it says secure and then it has that orange circle? That means you have to get to that location and kill everybody in your wake. That's what that means, just in case you didn't know. Anytime there's triangles that the game puts on the screen for you, like those upside down triangles, that means the target you have to take out. And I did this once, and I got to the very end and I got killed. You know, it was like 10, 12 minutes of a fight. So at this point, you see my teammates are up there. I would say that at that point, then you go downstairs, because they could pretty much hold their own up there. And admittedly, the more enemies you tell them to aim at, the more danger they're going to be. So here's another option. When you're doing this, I think you're really excelling in a game like this, because if you can't see, use the drone. It is such a helpful tool. I can't even mention it. You could also leave it in the air without collecting it back by just pressing the left bumper instead of holding it. And then you can run and go do your thing, and then press the left bumper again to access it. But the guys I'm talking about are down here. When you near their proximity, they'll be aware of you, so you need to be able to see them charging at you. Otherwise, they're going to completely surprise you. But fall back here, and then you could just shoot these 2 guys. Probably melee kill them too. I think that's maybe what I do. But I don't think I took the risk on these 2 guys. On the next guy, you'll see that I do. And then for everybody's enjoyment, I took the magnetic view off so you could see the kill in real color. The section also concludes with a difficult, well, I thought it was difficult. Here's the kill. I thought it was difficult before I did it on my first try this time, and I don't know what the reason for that is, but luck? I don't think it was luck. Okay, do you see that blue triangle? That's the drone. It's the drone that I probably forgot to collect it, but anyway, now you want to come up here, you want to drop to the floor, drop to all fours, excuse me, and then get behind cover here. And this is where I got killed at one point, and it was like on one of the last guys. So there's a lot of guys coming out of here. Just realize that all you need to do is kill them. There's not some other kind of objective. You know, when you see so many enemies coming at you, there's always a part of me, at least, that says, will they ever stop spawning? Do I have to do something else? Oh, this is an issue here too. And it was a failing on my part not to clear up everybody downstairs, because they're giving me a problem. But for the most part, I would say, like in this game, a smart player engages in the mandatory battles. I'm saying a smart player engages. A smart player will delegate authority to his teammates instead of risking his own life. So in the next fight, you're going to see me, like, when at least I have my teammates alive, which I can't remember how long they stayed alive for, but as long as they're shooting and tearing people up, I would not put myself at risk. Because why risk everything when these guys can just be picked up? You know, I wish there were iframes during that animation, but there aren't. So anyway, the reason why I'm satisfied with video 1, even though I realize and admit that it was boring, is because I know that if someone, I should say, when someone comes along and wants to do this challenge in the future, even though what I'm saying is boring, the true reason I want someone to watch my video in the future is to be able to find my video, watch it, and be helped. And the boring segment won't be boring to him, because he won't even be really acknowledging that, because he's going to be coming to the video wanting help and needing help, and he'll just disregard you know the parts where I'm talking about things that aren't of interest to him. Now hopefully the things that he is interested in and he needs help with, this prospective person, and I use the word his and he just because I'm a man, and like, I don't say he, she. It's just kind of tacky, you know. When you're writing and you're a man, I think it's okay to just say him and her, him and he, and if you're a woman, it's she and her. You don't have to write he, she. It's just that's my rule, and it is sort of a rule in grammatics too, a grammatical rule. But I fine-tuned it into my rule. So that is why, because I think about it this way. I was that prospective person looking for aid with this guide, because there's been a couple of times, and I don't hate to admit it, I admit it. I was looking for, first of all, I was just trying to see if anybody had done this, because there were parts when I needed some clarification on, and the only people that have done it have done it on Elite, unless their guide on Hardcore is so buried in a YouTube search engine that I'll never find it. But don't advance right there, you got to fall back. But when I search for another guide, it's either to see who's done it, because sometimes I do really eclectic things that I'm trying to see, you know, who else has done this out of curiosity. And other times it's for basic clarification. And I'm not going to pretend that I know everything and never need anything clarified for me, because I'm quite the opposite. So with that section cleared, we're going to run up here now. I'm going to get a little bit of water for myself. And we only have one more engagement. I think there's a room where you can pick up ammo, and maybe, no, it's just an ammo box, it's not a weapon box. But I did this on my first try, and the only reason I'll ever say how long this took me 5 hours, this took me one try, is just to tell you my literal experience of how long it took me, and if I did it on my first try, so that possibly you'll be assured and won't have to worry too much that it's not difficult. So okay, so you need to open the door with the drone. You can also use the drone for the same purposes as the EMP to disable the temporarily disable tanks. So in this section here, all you need to do is just dispatch. The blind firing is not good in this game, because what happens is the second you stop shooting, he freezes for a second, completely vulnerable, and he doesn't drop back down into cover fast enough. It's really horrible. I wouldn't even call it blind firing, because blind firing is supposed to be completely safe, because your accuracy is so compromised. But what I would do if I were you is head back behind the train. You might even be able to hide in the train if you wanted to and kill enemies as they came in there. So you could try that if you wanted to. But this is a perfect example of delegating authority to everybody. You see? I have 3 teammates. I can be killing 3 people in addition to the people I'm killing, if I even decide to kill people. So just watch out for targets like these, and you'll get a couple of chargers coming up to you, a couple of runners and fucking gunners. I love running and gunning games. I still love Contra, except for that new one that they made that's not Contra, even though it's called Contra. It's the anime one that they did. The best Contra is called Shattered Soldier. It's the hardest one too. But I think we're almost concluding this video. Okay, so I'm gonna head back here now. No, we're not quite concluded. I'm gonna head back here. I'm gonna heal this guy myself. Take the risk and just stand back here. Okay. I will see you in the next video.